Nerd News Now. Hello, welcome to Nerd News Now. It is July 19th, 2021. I'm with Brainy and Miss Jen. Kyle will be joining us in a little bit to share his love of Space Jam 2, New Legacy. So, guys, what's going on, Miss Jen? I saw you this weekend. We were at Comicpalooza, so I can't believe that was the thing that happened. We'll get to that in a second. Brainy, how are you doing out on the West Coast?
I'm doing great. I'm more excited to hear about Comicpalooza. I want to see how it went. It was I guess officially our first full blown convention, sort of full blown.
Oh, it was full blown. It was like in my mind anyway. Yeah, it was crowded. No, this was there was no guest named social distance. So social distance was not a guest at this convention.
No.
That's
Like not at all. Which is crazy because back in California they're restricting again, right? Yeah, so I don't know how far that's going, because I know some people are pulling back, but there's not a lot of details out there. I think the news is kind of over it, even though they're feeding into the frenzy of everything. So, what's it like out there right now?
well, most people are cooperative. In fact, I made a blunder this Saturday. I was so tired on Saturday, I had to cover the shift, and a gentleman walked in without a mask and everything. And for I would say about 3 or 4 minutes, I didn't realize he was not wearing a mask. I was just like, "Oh wait, hey buddy, you got to put a mask on." He goes, "Hey, look, I understand." He goes, "Well, he basically got what he needed and left anyway." But it just took me by surprise that I did not notice that he was not wearing a mask. That's how used to I am, basically, of people just walking with a mask on. That it didn't occur to me that he wasn't wearing a mask. Outside of that, I do know people who are complaining about it. I don't understand why, but hey, it's their prerogative. In fact, it was a Magic pre-release weekend this weekend, and we had a low turnout. And from what I heard, there were a few of our regulars who chose not to show up because they don't want to wear a mask. And so there are people out there that don't want to wear masks. So,
but weren't they showing up and doing that before, and wearing masks or no?
We did not run any events in store, and we were just trying it out for Magic this weekend because it's a new set release. But we haven't run one for over a year and a half. Since the pandemic started, we haven't run events in store. This would have been our second one. The first one was a small draft we did with Digimon, and then this was the second one that we tried out. The people who showed up, they were great. They wore their masks, they kept their distance, and we all had fun. But it was still disappointing to hear that people aren't willing to wear a mask. But,
I mean, y'all go ahead, Miss Jen. Go ahead.
I feel like you guys are where we were right as our governor took away the mask mandate. And you had that weird time in between where people then felt like there wasn't any real rule to wear it. Then it got kind of ugly. So I feel for you guys, unless they put a mandate on you guys again, which makes it much easier for retailers. It's
yeah, for us, we didn't remove the mask mandate. As soon as it was removed in California, we had our signs up saying masks are required. So everybody's required a mask in our store. But they did remove they did put the mandate back on in California. We are now required to wear a mask indoors again.
Okay.
I do not see them doing that in Texas, no matter what happens. I don't think they're going to do that again. What about you, Miss Jen?
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to, unless something really bad happens, if we have the same kind of problem like poor India did when it was catastrophic. I don't know if they'll do that to us again. We as a staff at the store we never dropped our masks, so we're just trying to keep everybody healthy on our end.
And me as a customer, I haven't dropped mine either. I wear it wherever, and it works still. And so but it's just with Texas, I don't think they're gonna even try again as far as that goes.
Is that because everybody feels safe, or is that because they don't want to have a riot?
Well, I'll just throw this out there. I think the vaccination rate is 43%, and you can figure out the rest. So, I mean, I think the people that wanted to get vaccinated did, and they're like, well, if the vaccine works, let's see. And then the people who didn't, and they, that it just Texas is all about my freedom,
I mean, I can understand not getting vaccinated. That's that's a health issue for some people, but I don't understand the no mask issue. It's inconvenient. For a person like myself that has issues breathing at times, I don't like it, but I do it. But
and then it's just combined with the fact that like large companies, like specifically, like the two wrestling factions, WWE and AEW, they're bringing all their stuff to Texas because it's wide open. I mean, they just had the first WWE pay-per-view that was live in like a year and 8 months, Money in the Bank in Fort Worth, and it was like packed out to the max,
See, I don't understand why people can't accept the fact that nature is trying to, basically get us all ready to become superheroes.
Yeah, I wish.
Some of us are going to be chosen to have superpowers, and we need to hide our identities, basically getting us ready to be able to breathe under those masks.
I haven't seen one person gain anything good from it though, so maybe when that happens.
This is just to force us to wear masks. I think the next pandemic is going to start giving us superpowers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to that one then.
Right.
But only if that ends up being the case. But so yeah, I was indoors with a whole bunch of people at Comicpalooza.
How safe did you guys feel? Personally.
I was just sort of like overwhelmed by the amount of people, and then it was fine. But I wore a mask like 90% of the time. I took it off for the camera, so. But that it's just one of those things where it's just like, whoa, this is because I hadn't done that in like a year and a half. Been at a convention or been around really people in general. So, Miss Jen, what was it like for you? What did you feel like?
Well, maybe because when we went on vacation, the LA area was largely unmasked then. So I kind of gotten a little bit used to being out in public without one. I also felt like I might be like you, Mark, when I got in front of like a big crowd, like a Comic-Con crowd. I thought I might be a little bit freaked out. But I think because I was talking to people that I really, really missed, I kind of forgot, like when Brainy says he forgot there was somebody with no mask. Like I was just so happy to see people and get hugs. I mean, my soul needed it so badly. You have no idea. When we come from a store, that's what we do is like hug everybody. And to go to, 6 feet away at all times, I can't see your face, and I needed it.
And hey, Kyle, what's going on? It. You made it. We saved Space Jam just for you. I made sure that we did not talk about it gushing.
But it's wrong if you liked it.
What now?
So I could point out that you're wrong if you liked it.
Yeah, of course. I've been waiting for that all week. What are you talking about? No, we were we are talking about how Jen and I were indoors with a whole bunch of people at Comicpalooza and telling Brainy what that was like. And
terrifying.
For me, yeah, but I'm a scaredy cat when it comes to stuff. But like Jen said, like I wore my mask, most of the time as I was telling them, and then I was hanging around people that I knew were vaccinated. So I guess in my mind it was sort of like, oh, this is fine, even though who knows about the other 30,000 people. I don't know if there's been a number released of how many people were actually there. Yeah.
When are they going to announce the Palooza variant?
Oh, I don't know, but I mean, I guess the same time when they
I'm not
announced
saying the
like the
Comicpalooza variant, just a general Palooza.
yeah.
Of
Well,
some-
I mean, coupled with the fact that all these major indoor events in the last week have been in Texas, right? Like AEW's
Mhm.
back on the road, WWE, Money in the Bank was in Fort Worth yesterday. So, yeah, we're gonna see what happens.
I fully expect them to announce the Lollapalooza variant.
Yeah,
And we're just going to call it Kovalala.
or something, something to that effect. Um,
Uh,
but Jen, Miss Jen, past the the feeling like a mortal or whatever. Uh, Indoors with a bunch of people. What did you think of Comicpalooza?
I was actually really surprised that they could figure out a way to put the layout so that it was a unique kind of experience. I was so worried about them having because they had like their big main stage on the main floor. They had all of the sub stages on the main floor with all of the dealers and everything. I thought that probably would be really hard to make work because I've been to shows that are like that before, and you're just like basically shouting over each other in the microphone when you're side by side. But somehow the way they had it set up didn't really have that problem very much that I saw. So it worked okay. I I was pleasantly surprised, and man, the turnout was, I thought, really large.
I
Did-
think
did you
you're going to find that every convention going forward is going to feel that way. Even if we're wrong,
Mm-hmm.
like conventions are come out, oh, we were 10% down. Well, we haven't seen anybody in so long.
Yeah.
It's going to feel like it's much bigger than it is just because our brains are unaccustomed. It used to be I could go to San Diego or whatever and I wouldn't feel like it was that big. Like, oh, there's a lot of people here, but it's not that many people.
Right.
And I'm certain now it'll be, why are there so many people here? Don't these people work?
I will say, as regarding the layout, I got there Saturday after this minor parking debacle I had. I got there Saturday around 12:30. I walk in and I there's a food court line. Like they had me enter in a food court.
That is
And
smart.
I did not like that aspect of it. I wish they would have put all the food in the back or something because food courts and conventions are notoriously crowded, and you have people standing around and trying to get food. So I did not like that part at all. Like I'm used to it opening. First of all, if you've never been, George R. Brown Convention Center in Houston has 5 halls. It's pretty massive, and for the last at least 4 years, Miss Jen, it's had all 5 halls, upstairs, downstairs. They've had everything. Well, in this time, Hall A, which is probably the biggest, it had Dr. Seuss Fest or Dr. Seuss Experience or something like that.
What, we missed Dr. Seuss experience?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
If Dr. Seuss experiences happen, why the hell are you going to Comicpalooza?
Well, because I heard Dr. Seuss was canceled, so I just assumed there would never be a Dr.
That's
Seuss
the early
anything ever
racist
again.
stuff.
And-
The good stuff's still around.
No,
why
I know.
have they not combined the two?
Seussapalooza? They should have.
Yeah.
I don't. Okay.
That'd be fun.
Second point. If it's not called Seussapalooza, because that is the most Dr. Seuss sounding name.
No, it was the Dr. Seuss experience. Look it up. I think it's on tour. Maybe it's coming to Ohio.
I'm sure it's not.
Maybe they'll expand a branch in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and put it in there.
Yeah, I'm sure that's not going to be a thing.
No, that was there, and I was surprised because I there's been smaller conventions in that convention center, and there's been like a bridal shower in Hall C or bridal convention Hall C and a gun show in Hall A. and stuff like, eclectic stuff like that. And there's other convention centers around town where there's like a tattoo show and a card show and stuff like that. But Comicpalooza has been by itself, like I said, for years now, ever since it got big enough to draw in, between 50 and 60,000. And I'm still waiting on the numbers for this one, but there was a lot of people. But
the only convention I ever lost money at
yeah,
shared its convention center with a livestock auction.
What?
Interesting.
Yep.
Dude,
Hmm.
stinky.
He lost money because he was at the livestock auction bidding on the livestock.
I was trying to buy Duroc pork, Duroc pigs.
Oh, I thought you were
You had
trying
the
to. I
pork?
thought you were trying to buy yourself another girlfriend.
Oh, that's cold. That's very funny, but that's cold. No, it was just the convention center chose to promote the livestock auction on their billboard out front and not the Comic-Con.
What?
And nobody told anybody until people were like, we couldn't find it. It wasn't on the sign where we were told it would be. And we made profit the first day, and I was so angry and frustrated that dinner cost me more than we made the first day. And then we made zero the second day.
I have to ask, was it dinner provided by the livestock auction?
I don't know.
Because
We went to a place called Tony's I-75, which if you've ever seen Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, is like a staple on those shows. But like after my third pound of bacon while I was eating my stress and bacon, I realized that we have now lost any chance of making money at this convention. And it was worth it.
I thought out of blind rage you just went next door and bought a hog in an auction and just roasted a pig right there.
I coulda.
You might as well
You
have
should've.
dig a pit, go for it.
You had plenty of comic books to burn at that time to make up.
Yeah. I didn't think about this.
Kyle, from what I've heard, people who had tables at Comicpalooza did really well, and I can attest to that was by far the most crowded area was the vendors area, and it was a good like two of those halls like B and C, and you could not walk through them at most times.
That's great to hear. I mean,
so crowded.
I fully suspect that it's going to be a wild year for people who do conventions. And I mean, my first convention is, I may do something for the experience in August, but my first convention as a vendor back is September. And I am both excited and terrified because I'm not sure I have enough inventory anymore if the show pops off. And at the same time, if it doesn't pop off, I don't have I don't know what I'll do if I'm wrong.
You can come to California and pick up some inventory, man. I got tons.
Well,
I'll verify.
I'm true. So one of the things I'm doing for my conventions this year is I'm focusing on the high-end collectible stuff. So I'm not taking Funko Pops that sell for $10.
Oh, but you should, because
But you might should, from what I've heard.
Because I only have maybe a handful of them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the 2 tubs full of Funko Pops that I have that are $50, $100, $150. I'm only taking silver and bronze comics. I'm not gonna take the 6 long boxes of dollar books because is it worth the effort?
How far is the convention from you?
The one in September is about 40 minutes.
Then yeah, it's worth it for you.
I don't know. Because that's the other thing, right? I am my whole staff now.
That's true.
Now I got to lift all that stuff, and as we've discussed, I'm an old man. But one of the things we're adding that's very exciting to me is we're adding vinyl records.
Yes. Ooh. Heck yes.
Ooh, hey, I'm gonna come over, man. No, I can't.
Dude, I've got 3,000 records in the inventory now. Ranging from, I've literally got like yodeling records all the way to like Metallica. Like it's the
I'm
whole
always looking
gambit.
for hip hop singles, man.
I don't, that's the thing I don't have a ton of. I've got some like Salt and Pepper, but I don't have a ton of like hip hop.
Well, classic hip hop or rap rather, I guess. Back then
Yeah.
it was rap before it was hip hop. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I've got
we're
very
going off.
little of that, but that's what I need to pick up next.
Vinyl does well at conventions because not a lot of people have it. And I actually went to Record Store Day before Comicpalooza. So I stopped by the record store, picked up Fred Armisen, Richard Pryor, some Fleet Foxes. Some
Did you get
good
the Weird
stuff,
Al
man.
record?
I did get the Weird Al record, yeah.
Lucky. I didn't get one. I'm gonna have to order it off the internet.
Oh man, I
So-
would have got one and if my shop still has one, I'll get one to mail it to you.
Well, I mean that's kind of the thing is I haven't been able to go into every shop in town,
Right.
but the shop I go to and the shop that knew that I was coming in my crippled state sold out before I could get there.
And you know it's a tiny one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's Garbage Pail Kids artwork.
Right.
That's awesome.
Oh, I'll
Yeah.
never play that thing. It'll just go in a frame and hang on the wall.
Yeah, no, because like the tiny, for those of you who don't know that they make tiny records now, I guess it's novelty or whatever. I don't know if it ever used to be a thing, but it's a thing the last couple of years.
Are we talking
3
about
inches.
7 inch? Really?
No, yeah, 3-inch vinyl, and the record players for these things are $120.
They make an adapter for a traditional player.
They do. Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Wait,
But I don't.
that's-
But sound wise, what? Yeah,
It's a
Brainy,
single.
it's like that. Yeah.
It's a 3-inch single.
I had problems when they made CDs that big because it would always slide out of the the little slot they had in the CD player. It would always slide out and never play.
Yeah.
Vinyl players, wow.
You guys
Well-
remember they had for, I don't remember where it was, Taco Bell or somewhere. They had Yo MTV Raps, little tiny.
It was Taco Bell.
My memory is still good.
You had to put it in your Discman to play it because you had to be able to snap it in.
Yep.
Yep.
Your memory should not be going, Miss Jen. You're not as old as Kyle.
What?
I feel real old today, y'all.
Hey, speaking of feeling, how are you feeling?
I am having the most pain today that I've had since, like, even more than when I got out of surgery. But today was, so JD, who's one of my associate producers on The Experience, is home visiting. He's from Toledo, originally lives in the Valley now, about 20 minutes from Brainy.
Wait,
And,
does he really?
yeah.
Tell us we're going to come visit. Punk.
He's always working. I've got to give him time off to come visit you. So he's home visiting. So we went to lunch, and then he ran tonight's shows from my studio. But I then had to go into the studio to like unlock things. So I've put more mileage on my foot than I should have.
I wish they would invent something where you can, basically give your associates a device that will help them open the door so they can go in and out.
Like a smart key?
Yeah, maybe something like that,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if he
Yeah,
was here, he'd have a
yeah.
key. He'd have a straight key, like if he was here, but he's not
Exactly.
here, so why does he have a key? So.
Anyway, we've gotten way off topic from our Comicpalooza.
All right, can we get back to Space Jam?
Yeah,
And
but
how, in Space Jam, like in every other aspect of his life, LeBron James is less good than Michael Jordan?
Ooh, ouch.
okay. I mean, but did you think he wouldn't be? I mean, I know that you didn't really have any expectations for the film anyway, but
Oh,
I don't think-
I had huge expectations because I loved the first movie, so I
See-
wanted to be at least that good, and it was
No.
not close.
How many sequels can you say were as good or better than the original?
Well, part of me was hoping it was just a shot-for-shot remake, and that they were going to replace Bill Murray with like Josh Gad or someone.
They
or
can't.
Brian Doyle Murray. Or no, Murray Brothers.
That would be if it was a baseball movie.
Yeah.
But I was hoping it would be at least as good as the first one with a soundtrack that, wasn't problematic 25 years later. But it wasn't.
No, but it beat Black Widow. It beat Black Widow in the box office. And everyone's doom bringing, well, this is the end of Marvel because they couldn't hold a first spot. But it's like, but simultaneously, they're kind of railing on the idea of Disney Plus having rented this out, at home to fans. But one, still we're in a pandemic. Two, it made 80 plus the 60 last week. So. And Black Widow was good and has been well received by both critics and fans alike. So guess what? Marvel movies are fine. Everything's fine. I think
part of the problem is, and I finally saw Black Widow, and I didn't. How do I put this? I didn't like it, but I didn't dislike it. I nothinged it.
She did act better than Michael Jordan. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, well, she acts better than about everybody. It's Scarlett Johansson. She could stand on screen for an hour and a half, and I'd pay to see the ticket. I'd pay the ticket. But I'm super jealous of Colin Jost, by the way. Just throwing that out there. If you know, you know. But I nothinged that movie. I think I would have almost liked it, or maybe even liked it, had it come out in the order it was supposed to come out in. When it was supposed to come out. I felt like I knew too much. And so that was my big problem with Black Widow. And I think people like me who are saying, oh, it was okay. It was a movie, are what really hurts it long term. Because it's not like we're going like we were for Endgame going, oh my God. Let's go see this movie 9 times.
Yeah, that's the thing that's not going to happen, especially if you can just watch it at home. But that's the difference that we are seeing now, right? Because before, we wanted to go see it 10 times in the movie theater because we weren't going to see it any other way. There was no other way to see it for 6 months, a year or something. Now we can watch it the next 20 times at home.
Right.
Well, but how will we know that in the numbers?
Isn't Disney Plus only available for what, 24 or 48 hours?
No.
You have it.
It's $30 and you have it for, until it becomes on there permanently. Yeah. But also, I think saying nothing that is way worse than going, it was good.
Yeah, I nothinged it.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's probably a worse moniker than going, it was okay. Or it was good.
Right. No, but that's what I'm saying is the fact that people like me who don't traditionally like these things, but that liked Endgame, which we can all agree is a super high watermark.
Mm-hmm.
I went and saw Endgame 3-4 times the first weekend. And then over the next weekend, anytime a friend would be like, I haven't seen it yet, I'm like, we're going. Let's go.
Yep.
And I would be like, pack a sleep mask for Black Widow. Maybe take some energy drinks so you don't pass out in the middle third. So. But the fact that it lost to Space Jam shows the kind of power of family movies.
Oh, right? Yeah.
And I got to admit, when Mark and I talked about this a long time ago, when Peter Rabbit 2 was coming out.
Yeah.
And I go, there's no way Peter Rabbit 2 was going to win the box office, and it did. There's no way Space Jam should have won the box office, but people want something to do where they're not responsible for their children. But taking them to the movie and being like, sit there and watch the movie.
They could have just done that at home, though. The difference between Black Widow and Space Jam was for free at home. Well, almost free. Or $12.99, whatever.
But it's also, I need to get out of my house with my, I need to get away from my kids. So sit there, be quiet. Daddy's going to go watch the Black Widow movie, Or if this movie theater has a bar, you sit there, be quiet. I'll be at the bar. Do you guys have bars in movie theaters where you are?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, good. Have you ever gone to see a movie and like realized pretty quickly I need to go to the bar and get 3 or 4 drinks to be able to get through this?
No,
No.
but I miss having the Alamo Draft House.
Yeah.
They really good food.
Do you guys remember the Total Recall remake?
Barely.
Same, because when I was still drinking, in order to get through that movie, I had to get so drunk I couldn't move my arms.
I still haven't seen the remake yet.
I wouldn't. If you
have
have
to
to torture someone for school or something, advanced interrogation techniques, show them that.
Yeah, I want to watch them back to back just to see how different they were, but
It was
We'll see.
ugly.
maybe I'll watch the remake first, then I'll watch the original.
That might work. Yeah, I just wondered if you guys have ever had that experience where it's like, this movie is so bad, I need chemical help.
Oh man, I tried to do that with Napoleon Dynamite again. Could not get past the freaking first 5 minutes of that movie.
For real? I like Napoleon Dynamite.
I can't watch it.
Vote for Pedro.
I think maybe that was like a moment in time movie because when it came out, it's like low budget, quirky. What the heck is this? This is great. And
Yeah.
maybe now looking back in retrospect, it may not hold up at all.
I couldn't watch it back then. That was a problem. My wife and I tried to sit through it. The first 5 minutes, we're like, yeah, this movie sucks. We're done.
I
don't
agree
know.
with you, Mark, though. I think it did capture a certain moment.
And
Yeah.
let me point this out. We sat through 2/3 of The Last Airbender, and we couldn't sit through the first 5 minutes of Napoleon Dynamite. Of course, we never finished Last Airbender either, but you know.
Oh, I started watching a movie today. Something Milkshake on Netflix.
Gunpowder Milkshake.
Yes.
Starring Karen
Oh.
Gillian.
Yes.
So wait, so did you stop or like are you
I had
saying
to
it's
stop to go into the office.
well you didn't
We'll
nothing
finish
yet?
it when we're done here.
Okay.
I
So
was enjoying it.
yeah, no, I've heard good things, and Mondo made an awesome poster for it. So
Yeah.
that's usually a good sign. But they probably made a poster for the Total Recall remake, so I don't know. And I also I forgot that existed just the same way I forget there was a remake of RoboCop.
Was there?
Yeah,
Really?
there was, and there
Oh.
was a remake of Judge Dredd, but I think people like that one.
I
think
like
the
Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone. I don't know if that was the remake or the
That
original.
was the original, and then
That
they
was the
remade
original.
it with the guy who was. He's in Marvel now. He's
Carl Urban.
Carl Urban.
I want
not
to
in
watch
Marvel.
that.
He's in The Boys. He's the lead on The Boys.
Wasn't he supposed to be? He's in a He's been cast in a Marvel thing.
Has he?
Maybe just as a voice.
I don't know. Unless he's one of the 8 million people in the Eternals, maybe it's that.
Right.
Well,
Well-
it's starting to become one of those things where everybody wants to be in a Marvel movie nowadays. Doesn't matter what it is. They'll
Well,
take
everyone's
any-
agent wants them to be in a Marvel movie for sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
They want,
They want their 5-10%. Ooh, you found cinnamon.
And it's like people who want anything to do, as far as like on a director level, I'll see a lot of comments of people going, well, of course, they're going to hire that director because they'll do what Marvel tells them. And it's like, okay, but they're also being able to helm a movie that has a $200 million budget. So if nothing else, I mean that it's a paycheck and a learning experience. So I wouldn't be ashamed of wanting in on the MCU either, and on any level.
I will play the next villain for them. Just putting it out there. Any villain, I'll do it. I'll play it.
I'd watch that, Brainy.
Are you seeing people? Well, I am, but
Who finished Loki?
I think we all did. Wow.
We all did. Okay. Wow.
Nice.
So, Brainy, last week when it was you and me, I said, "Oh, there's no way Kang's gonna be on there. No way. No way. No way. No way."
And he
And
wasn't.
Well, so technically,
He was
the
not.
guy playing him is. So
But that
isn't
doesn't mean that was Kang.
so someone with way more comic knowledge than me, please tell me who Jonathan Majors was playing.
Immortus.
Because I've heard two different things already.
It's Immortus.
Immortus. Okay. But then I heard it wasn't Immortus.
Well, whoever told you that was wrong.
That's what I thought. So I'll go with you on that. I
Now,
think, but isn't
the problem
Immortus a
with
different
Immortus,
version?
right?
Huh?
Yes. Here's the problem with Immortus, right?
Yeah.
He's Kang.
Yeah.
He's a different version of Kang.
Yeah.
Right.
He's a variant of Kang.
Yeah.
Right. No, but you didn't see Kang. The
No.
thing about, in order to get Kang, you have to go through a very specific set of events with Nathan Richards. Right, to
So
get to Kang.
does that mean they're going to be forced to bring in Fantastic Four now?
No.
No. Okay.
Because Kang interacts with so many other things,
Mm-hmm.
you can ignore that part of the story for a long time. But yeah, it's in order to get to Kang, you've got to go through a specific set of steps with Nathan Richards, including Rama Tut, which I honestly believe now that we're getting the Immortals, we're going to get Rama Tut. Which now you're going to be able to say, okay, the end of Loki, that guy is a different guy than this guy, but they're the same guy. And how does that work? It can only work with something that exists outside of a timeline.
So is Rama Tut a different variant, or
Yes.
whatever we want to call him, of Kang?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So will Rama Tut most likely be played by Jonathan Majors as well?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, then I'm all for it. I want to see that guy in many movies as we can get him into.
Well, the interesting things that have happened since just before the end of Loki, but also the end of Loki, is that they've announced that What If matters now. It's not just an aside.
Yes.
What If is actually relevant in the sense that it's some of the stories that are taking place in What If are going to continue beyond What If.
And the timeline variance basically, dictates they can do that.
Yep. Loki season 2 means that we're not at the end of the whole thing, which is great. But the woman who plays Sylvie, or not the woman who plays Sylvie, the woman who ran this season won't be back for season 2.
Now, the character's name is skipping my mind all of a sudden. It's Raven something. And she has ties to Kang in the comics.
Oh, Judge Renslayer?
Renslayer, yeah.
Yeah, she's also from Fremont, Ohio. Shout out to the home team. She does, but we're not. She actually has ties to Immortus.
Okay.
So it's kind of the whole. To make an analogy to another Marvel character, it's you have Nathan Summers, who is a character, but also is Cable. But Cable is also X-Man. It's kind of that sort of.
Well, Kang was a little bit different than that.
Yeah, Kang was way more complicated.
Yes, way more complicated.
The drugs in the 60s and 70s will do that to you. But
are you saying Stan Lee did drugs?
Oh, I'm saying Stan Lee had to. I've seen Angar the Screamer. That whole period where Stan would just make a sound, and Jack or John, Jack Kirby or John Romita or Sal Buscema or whatever would just draw a character, and the character's called Oof. They had to be on something, and I'm sorry I wasn't there for it. But no, the thing I think, and I said this on the Dan Wickline show, and I'll say it here, and I'll say it a bunch of times. They finally made a show for people like me, where they're finally gonna give me a show where I can get into the weeds, where I can really, really spend a ton of time going, no, it's not Kang, it's this other character. But here's what you need to know because it is kind of Kang, but not really. But, like there was finally a nod to the people who know the stuff, which I think was well earned by Marvel fans. They've given them enough money. And it was a welcome change. So I thought Loki was the best thing they've ever made.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's gonna have a preference. I loved WandaVision, but also, like you said, Kyle, they had an opportunity to kind of make that turn in WandaVision, and they didn't.
Right.
But in Loki, they just went full throttle with it. So, but speaking of full throttle, we better see a jet ski in season 2.
Yeah.
We cannot have all this build up to Owen Wilson on a jet ski and not get a jet ski at some point.
Right.
That's true.
But I was also thinking, like, it sounds like Tom Hiddleston is all in on this character. I mean, he was quoted as saying, "I'll play him forever." Okay. Because if he wasn't, I was almost thinking you could make the Loki of the show Sylvie, and that would be an interesting angle. But now I have no idea what's going to happen, other than Loki trying to bring Owen Wilson back to his reality.
They can keep Loki going forever now that they've introduced multiple Lokis. So they can always they can do a Doctor Who of Loki basically. Always just keep bringing him a different one every single season if they want to, and it'll work.
I think, though, if they go on too long with it, it's going to lose its purpose as sort of crafting the gateway that Kyle's talking about to this phase 4. So I kind of like the idea of it being more limited. I'm cool with the season 2, but hopefully that's going to really tailor this phase 4. And I'm also intrigued by I never thought until Kyle mentioned it that what if could be relevant to all this that's going on, because I just thought, oh, cool, a cartoon finally, and that was my kind of where my brain stopped on it. But then when I saw the trailer, it's going to be a combination of the What If comics and of MCU. Like, hey, what if we would have done this instead? So now I'm way more
that's what the
interested
What
in
If
that.
comics always were.
Yeah,
It's what if Peter Parker had managed to save Gwen Stacy? What if Silver Surfer had stayed with Galactus? What if the Avengers had lost the, Battle for New York? Like, that's always what those things were. The one I hope they make, and only because I asked this question live on the air the other day, and somebody gave a great answer, is what if the Marvel bullpen had become the Fantastic Four? Only so Mark Maron can play Stan Lee. Because he would nail it.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Marvel bullpen, it was basically sort of questions and answers at the end of every single comic book. That for a very long time, Stan Lee would respond, and I'm sure, or his ghostwriters or whatever would respond. So.
Right, but I mean, what if Stan was Reed Richards? What if Jack was Ben Grimm? I'm trying to remember who the other ones were. I think it was Sal Buscema was Human Torch, and I forget who was the Invisible Girl.
Who was Dr. Doom in that one?
I don't remember either. Let me see if I can Google it.
But there was a What If comic on that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What if Fantastic Four were the original Marvel bullpen? Mr. Fantastic was Stan Lee. Sal Brodsky was the Human Torch. Jack Kirby was the Thing, and Flo Steinberg was the Invisible Girl. The other characters, Namor was himself, as was Dr. Morrow and an unnamed Skrull, but also appearing John Romita Sr.
Huh. Okay.
4 members of the original Marvel bullpen become subjects of an insidious experiment when a box shooting cosmic rays is delivered to their office one day in the early 60s. Granted superpowers, they dedicate themselves to taking down the mysterious S people responsible for their transformations. Over the course of 2 decades, they embark on secret missions as the Fantastic Four while adapting their exploits into the comics they publish by day. Meanwhile, the S people continue to plant similar boxes, subjecting others to worse transformations. Eventually, the FF track down the cosmic rays to Atlantis with the help of Submariner. They ferret out the S people, revealed to be their recurring enemies, the Skrulls.
So going back to the original reference that Kyle had made, the cosmic rays were actually pot and other illicit
Yeah.
drugs.
Uh-huh.
And
Mushrooms.
Fantastic Four was actually all these guys pretending to be the Fantastic Four. And, they're like, hey, what if I had superpowers? I would be made of rocks. I would be stretchy if I went, that's how Fantastic Four came about.
George Carlin has a bit where he does what drugs are nursery rhyme characters on. And how Snow White had to be on cocaine because cleaning up after the 7 dwarfs takes that kind of energy.
Right.
And I just imagine that that's the same thing. Okay, the Fantastic Four, what drugs were they on? But no, I think if you're going to do What If, you've got to do all of What If in the sense that you can't shy away from those stories. Just because it makes no sense. Well, that's just an alternate timeline. That's one that gets pruned. But I think you've got to, now that they've given themselves the opportunity to have some matter and some not, they can tell those really fun stories. What if Forbush Man was the leader of the Avengers?
No, I mean, I think, that series has the opportunity to just go on and on, right? I mean, because you can go back and reference the famous What If comic stories. You can have offshoots from the MCU, and you can just do whatever you want.
I don't think you'll need offshoots from the MCU.
Well, they're going to have that. If you see they're definitely going to have that. So.
But I'm saying I don't think you need them.
Right.
And I will complain loudly about that when it happens.
Yeah, this show may not be for Kyle. Just prepare yourself for that.
But because the What If, and they're still making What Ifs. Jen and Brainy, when was the last? They made some a couple years ago, right? Was it last year?
Spider's Shadow.
There's
one going right now that's called The Spider's Shadow.
Yeah. They're still making What If books. So I have no problem with them telling new What If stories. They're still publishing What If. But I think they need to, if they're going to do them, they need to be in that sort of style of the What If stories. It can't just be, what if Tony Stark was, I don't know, in love with somebody other than Pepper Potts? That doesn't make any sense. Just so you can get those two back.
What? He was always in love with his alcohol.
And his pills.
Mm-hmm. And his pills.
Speaking of pills.
This is Batman.
No, I'm kidding.
Wait, what? Oh, that was a Kyle joke. I didn't know what was going on. I thought you were going to segue into.
Well, no. Speaking of pills, I probably should take one here pretty soon.
Oh. Ooh. Well, I can just let me just run through this news and real quick, since we got derailed from it, we will have a Comicpalooza special up sometime probably within the next week. We interviewed some people. We saw a lot of cosplay. There's a whole lot of people in it, so prepare to be overwhelmed like I was. But it was fun. It was good, and it was really good seeing everyone for sure. It kind of took some of that shock and fear away, just being able to see people again. So as far as news, just a real quick rundown, and I'll turn it over to y'all for comics. MCU's Blade finds a director. Bassam Tariq will direct the film. He previously directed Mogul Mowgli, which starred Sound of Metal's Riz Ahmed. And that movie sounds awesome. But I think he's going to do well in the MCU. Casting is finally underway for the Batgirl movie that I thought was never going to exist. The rumors for the actresses vying for the lead are Zoe Dutch from Zombieland Double Tap, Isabella Merced from Dora and the City of Lost Gold, and Leslie Grace from In the Heights. So hopefully this movie actually happens, and it's good because they've done everything all out of whack as the DC universe has done. And Barbara Gordon didn't even exist before the Birds of Prey movie. So hopefully that ends up making sense.
Was the Dora movie you referenced a Dora the Explorer movie?
Yes, it was the one. Yeah. Did that ever even come out? I remember seeing a trailer for it where she was like grown up and it was like sort of a farce, but also serious.
I just love the fact that they made one.
Yeah, no, they did. Yeah,
Alright.
for sure.
So, do you know much more about the Batgirl movie? Is it going to be their dark?
No, we don't know anything about it. No, we haven't known anything about it, and it just like you hear like, oh, Emma Stone wants to play Batgirl, and then you don't hear anything for 2 years. So hopefully, we'll see.
Take a lighter tone with this character because they can go very far with it if they want. But if they
yeah. I hope they do right by Batgirl and by Barbara Gordon. Last of Us on HBO is rumored to cost $10 million an episode to make. They're making that up in Canada. It's based on the super popular video game series, of course. It's going to be starring Pedro Pascal, who's not going to have to wear a helmet the whole time. $10 million an episode, just for frame of reference. Game of Thrones started out $6 million an episode, and then by the time the last season ended, it was up to $15 million per episode. So they're putting a lot of money into a video game adaptation.
They paid $15 million to leave Starbucks on the set.
Oh yeah.
See, you have to take it in consideration. Most of that $15 million was probably salary for all the actors.
Jason Momoa or whoever.
Was he in season 8? I don't think he was in season 8.
He's the only person I can name off the top of my head that was in Game of Thrones.
Really?
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I now if I was watching whatever this milkshake movie is.
Gunpowder Milkshake.
Starring
Karen Gillian.
But also in that is Lena Headey.
From Game of Thrones.
Who I'm like, I know her from somewhere. Where do I know her from? And my buddy goes, she was in Game of Thrones. And I go, yeah, that's not what I know her from, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I recognize people from Game of Thrones, but I don't.
Oh.
And then here's some news for just me and Kyle. But you guys would enjoy it if you give it a chance. Starz drops a trailer for Heels, the wrestling scripted drama. Oh my gosh, I saw this trailer and I was like, this looks really freaking good. And it's dramatic. Like, it really does look like a drama. And I'm excited about it. It stars Stephen Amell, who I know is going to work hard on it because he's a big wrestling fan, and Alexander Ludwig, who most people would know from Vikings.
And Mark, look up who they've got as their consultants. Who are their wrestling consultants?
Go ahead and tell me, because I have the show creator, but not anything else.
I'll just leave it at this. It's some people who you would love to see back in the ring that aren't.
John Cena came back yesterday, so
that will be making appearances in the show as wrestlers.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll look that up, but here's one to tie it back to even more nerdy stuff, is that the show was created by Michael Waldron, who created the Loki series. So, talking about a lot of talent in front of the camera, behind the camera, and in the ring. So, and the showrunner is also Mike O'Malley, who did Shameless. So that's a pretty good TV resume going on right now. They do have a panel on Friday for Comic-Con at home, so check that out. I'll turn it over to you guys for comics. So, Miss Jen, what are you looking forward to this week, or what's going on in the world of comics?
Ooh, comics. Everyone's all getting super excited because we're starting to get our shipments for Free Comic Book. Happens in the middle of next month. Everyone's all getting psyched. Just so everyone is aware, there are already some huge spec books that are coming out of those, including the Boom related book to their killer hit series, Something is Killing. And the one that's for stray dogs. So wear your battle gear to the local comic shop. Free Comic Book shop day near you. Out tomorrow, Bermuda #1. which sounds cool, and Dark Blood. The next part in this, like the third part of the Extreme Carnage storyline, Phage.
You have Blue and Gold,
Mm-hmm.
Booster Gold and Blue Beetle.
Mm-hmm.
A book that I'm excited for only because it's about time they brought him back. Deja Thoris versus John Carter of Mars.
Oh yeah.
Well, they haven't had a good John Carter book since the terrible movie.
I was about to say since ever.
Right. And I liked the movie. I know it was bad, but I still liked the movie.
Great.
That being said, I'm excited to have a story with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's written by Dan Abnett. So, like, you know, if you're gonna bring in somebody, bring somebody with an A game.
You get Amelia Clark's Mom, Mother of Madness, which is kind of them trying to recreate the success of Berserker, Keanu Reeves, which I don't think.
Jen, when I was building the broadcast room for Minute to Skim It tomorrow, I called it the one with Mom.
Perfect.
Uh-huh. I thought that was perfect. Yeah.
Kyle, Amelia Clark is from Game of Thrones.
Okay, thank you. She was in
Okay.
something else that I know.
I'm sure she was.
Did you guys mention Mom coming out?
That's the one.
Mom, Mother of Madness, or was that last week?
That's this week. Shazam #1.
Moon Knight.
Moon Knight.
Excited about his Moon Knight. Got some killer covers.
Man, yeah, Moon Knight has beautiful covers. I hope the story is just as nice as the covers.
Mm-hmm.
If you're into oddities, Trailer Park Boys get a effing comic book #1 from Devil's Due.
Yep.
I'm all over that one.
Siphon #1.
Trailer Park Boys have had everything else. They've had a live stage show, a long running TV show, a movie, a cartoon series. Why not? They need a choose your own adventure book, though.
Don't miss Usagi Yojimbo #21. It's the second part of the story that started last month with the new character.
Mm-hmm.
That character's been around a long time.
Interesting enough, Spawn Universe second printing is out. Do we really sell out of first printings?
I didn't, but I also ordered to not sell out of first printing.
Same here. Star Wars Bounty Hunter, Jabba Hutt. That one's going to be interesting.
On the trade paperback side of things, you have Batman Dark Prince Charming.
Yep.
And Bliss, which are the two that I have on pre-order. But there is one. Did you hear what Eddie Gein done from Albatross? The reason I'm interested is that it's Harold Schechter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't generally read the Albatross books unless they're the Goon. But Eric has me with this one.
Is that this week?
It's on my list for this week, but it's Albatross, so it's entirely possible it's next month.
I was going to say, there is absolutely no way I would have not ordered that true crime book.
Right. It's on my list as having been supposed to come out this month or this week, but, you know.
Things happen.
Right.
Not everything always arrives.
Right. I mean, especially with a company like the size of Behemoth or Albatross or some of those, I don't ever expect stuff to come out when my list says it's going to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mind waiting.
I'm actually excited for your prequel.
I'm sorry?
There's a Snowpiercer prequel that's coming out, and I love.
Is that this week?
Before the Train?
It is indeed.
Is that coinciding with the TV series?
It's all tied together.
It's all tied together? Okay.
Came first.
I don't know that the comic book character looks like Daveed Diggs, though. Haven't been reading the comics.
And it looks like Nottingham ties up this week.
There's a couple books that wrap up this week that were of note. One of them was called Last Song, a book that reliably came out once a year.
Yeah.
For about 4 years. And then in the last 2 months or last 6 months, it's put out 2 issues.
Go Black Mask.
And I don't mind with these small publishers waiting. I waited patiently for the once a year that book came out, and I read it and read it and read it and read it. My issue 1 is so worn out of Last Song.
So that's comics. You guys always name so many comics. Now, how many comics? I was just curious.
I probably have more time to read than those two. Jen reads a bunch.
Yeah.
Because
very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But I probably read 10 or 15 a week.
Man, that's a lot.
Yeah, I mean.
There used to be a time when I was reading like 5 or 6 a day. Get home, pick a few up, but
when the store was open and slow, I'd read. There were weeks where I read every book that came out. Now I tend to lean a little more towards the obscure, and super indie, but I managed to read a bunch a week, and then I have a store that's about 40 minutes from me that I go to every other week, and they usually have the hardcovers like Across the Tracks or Chasing the Bird from Z2. I picked up when I was up there just before my surgery, The Idiot's Guide to Pawnee, Indiana.
Yes.
Comic book guide to the show Parks and Recreation. So I'll probably read that probably tomorrow. But
I did not know that existed. So
yeah,
Kyle, if you have not,
it's only like this big. It's real small. It's great.
Yeah.
If you have not read Whispers in the Wall, do so. It's by Humanoids.
Yes. What was the one they just had one come out? Maybe 2 months ago. Siege.
Was he humanoid?
It was humanoid, but it just had a big face that looked like Jeffrey Wright on it with a big beard.
I don't remember that.
That was really good. I just picked that up finally.
Well, I think that's it for comics. Mark, what else we got?
Oh, I think that's it. Just look forward to our video on Comicpalooza. You can see Miss Jen interview Matt Hawkins, president of Top Cow. I interviewed Dr. Britt Baker, GMD of AEW.
Hey.
And I rode a life-size Battle Cat. So look for that.
Nice.
I'm glad you got to talk to Britt Baker.
Huh?
I'm glad you got to talk to Britt Baker.
Yeah, she was very cool. Everyone at the show was, oh my gosh, so nice. Mark Paul Gosselaar, and it was people where if they were not nice, I'd be so sad. Martin Cove, and then Danny Trejo has to be like top 3 nicest people I've ever met at a convention.
When I go out to visit Brainy and JD, I'm going to Danny Trejo's donut shop, and I'm just going to be like, look, y'all can come see me. I'll be here.
And he's got tacos now too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he was telling me he's got a record label, so that guy is doing all he can with his fame, and it's awesome. And he's that's so
a guy
nice.
that could have fallen through the cracks and been stuck in prison forever, but he got a second chance, and he's done a lot with it, including Spy Kids.
Yeah, and speaking, you had mentioned Mark Maron earlier. He was featured on the WTF podcast like 2 weeks ago, talking about his book, and it's just a great story. But at one point, he jumped up from his booth and like started screaming and waving, and everyone thought there was like this big problem. But it's because he ran 30 feet to meet a kid that was dressed like Pikachu, and took 2 other kids from his booth to take a picture with him. It was unbelievable. Crazy.
That's Machete.
That's him.
One of the goriest, bloodiest movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Pikachu.
Yeah, that is him. Well, thank you so much. Thanks, Kyle, for hopping on. Thank you, Brainy and Miss Jen, for being along with me, and thank you for watching Nerd News Now, part of the Kingdom of Geekdom on Woodlands Online, sponsored by Space Cadets Collection and The Adventure Begins. Check out the other shows on Woodlands Online like Taste Buds, Music Cafe, The Adventure Begins Show, Woodlands House and Home, The Best You, Weekly Fallout Sports Talk, and Between the Trees Business Talk. You can watch all these on Woodlands Online and on our partner station KBQT HD21 over the air on your television. All these shows and more on Roku. Just search and add Woodlands Online TV to your streaming lineup. And you can listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcast. We'll see you next time on Nerd News Now.